Hello and welcome to Ben and Nate's Questions That We Ask Massage Therapists on the Internet. I am one half of your host, Nate Fay. And wouldn't you know it, I'm a licensed massage therapist, osteopath, and when I'm not hanging out with Ben Stone, I'm on the road teaching myoskeletal alignment techniques.
Hey, and I'm your co-host, Ben. I'm a massage therapist and sometime educator, and I consider my work to be rooted in curiosity, community, and learning. I learn so I can share, and because I believe that inspiring growth and evolution in others is a very meaningful and prosperous reward. So, thanks for joining us in Ben and Nate's Questions We Ask Massage Therapists on the Internet. We're looking at episode 40.
Yeah.
Welcome to episode 40.
It's a pretty cool place to be, Ben, especially looking back to just a couple short years ago at our fateful meeting in Jacksonville, Florida.
Yeah, that's the one where we did karate, right? Together and became best friends. I think that's the story. That's the legend anyway.
That's right. We'll keep it a legend. The legend of Stone Fay.
Karate in the garage. Did we just become best friends?
Sure the heck did. Over questions that we ask.
Yeah. What's that movie? Step Brothers?
Brothers, the great Step Brothers. I live that movie. I live that movie in real life.
Yeah.
Sure do. I'm the father. I'm the father though. I'm like ready to go out for scotch and cheesecake.
Nice.
So Ben, what the heck is happening, man?
We just came off of a good long weekend in Oklahoma City where we did some myoskeletal alignment techniques learning with 6 of the premier educators of the Eric Dalton gang. Give me a quick little rundown of what happened over the weekend.
What a weekend. I am officially recovered from it, but we did a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday workshop where we finally got all 6 educators together. And it was cool, man. Each educator taught a 3-hour segment. And what we did was Eric Dalton's greatest hits. So we put the workbook together to include Eric's favorite techniques that he taught over his illustrious long career. And each instructor presented. So it was cool. It was actually cool from my perspective to see my fellow educators, what they're doing in other parts of the world and how they sort of interpret this work and put out the good word of Eric Dalton. And then we had some cool people say, just give a little story or two about Eric and how Eric, affected their lives in a positive way. And then we got together, his daughter and son-in-law put together a beautiful memorial service. And, we showed a beautiful several-minute tribute from A to Z of Eric Dalton's life from birth until his final couple months there. And touching to see the many lives of Eric Dalton that guy was.
Yeah, it's amazing. And just hearing the stories and seeing how he touched so many people in different ways, it was an event worth going to. Like I'm very happy that I was there.
Yeah, it was cool too, and I think from the audience's perspective, for the audience to learn some of these aspects of Eric, and I had spoken about his time with Janis Joplin and Marvin Gaye when I was up there, and I'm sure there's people that just didn't know that history. And bittersweetly, if that's a word, but it can be a word for tonight. I came home and brought some of Eric's memorabilia home with him that he had kept in his life in his condo. So I got some cool posters of his band Southwind and playing with different acts, and it's pretty cool, man. Pretty cool to have this. I'm gonna hang them up this week in this room. So yeah. Good stuff.
I definitely think he would be proud of the work that was done that weekend in Oklahoma City. And like I said, I had a blast, and I'm proud of everyone that put in the work and was up on stage, and it was a great event.
Yeah, for sure, man. For sure. So now it's on to the next thing.
Yeah, the next thing we're going to talk about Costa Rica. Why don't you give me because you've been asking people to explain Costa Rica, but I'm going to ask you, what happens in Costa Rica and why would someone want to come hang out with you in Costa Rica, and give me those dates and all the stuff. all the things. Just give it all to me now.
Well, yeah, all of it right now. So this will be technically our 26th annual, what Eric called Pain Relief in Paradise. And Eric's been putting this workshop on. It's technically 25 sessions. It's not 25 years because there was some years that he had done two in the same year. So we had a couple years like that. So this will be the 26th session down there. It's a week long. It's in the mountains of Alajuela, Costa Rica, at a resort called Pura Vida. Of course, everything down there is called Pura Vida, and it's an incredible resort with a beautiful classroom that basically has windows all around it. So when you're taking class, you're looking into the landscape, into the valley of San Jose, and across the mountain, and to the other side of Costa Rica with the valley and you see the volcano. Of course, there's a ton of nature out there, all the different birds, and you see some other kind of neat creatures sometimes too.
Uh-huh.
And but the week, Ben, the week itself is split up so that there's everything is mixed in. So there's learning, and then there's downtime and fun time. So, for example, Saturday when everybody comes in, you basically have the whole day to get acclimated to the resort. We do just a 2 hour introduction that night. And then Sunday, we do a 6 hour session broken into two segments. So we put long lunch breaks in there. And then Monday is a half day, and the resort has excursions included with your tuition. So you can go zip lining, you could take it easy, go on coffee plantation tours or waterfall tours. And then Tuesday we do a full day of learning. Wednesday's a day off, and there's more excursions that you can do, like whitewater rafting, zip lining, go down to San Jose and do some food tours. And then Thursday is another full day of learning, and then Friday's another half day mixed in with excursions. But if you don't want to leave the resort has a saltwater pool, a hot tub, and then they have its own wellness center with a staff of massage therapists. So you can sign up for some really cool treatments during the week and treatments that you typically don't find in your neck of the woods. So it's
Nice.
just, by the way, the food. I mean, the food is about as fresh can get. So it's all buffet style, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And it's some of the best food, best coffee, best fruits that you'll ever have, ever.
Nice. So let me ask you this. Let's say I've never been introduced to any type of Dalton myoskeletal work and I want to go to this workshop, but I'm afraid that I don't know anything. What would you just say to somebody who has no experience in this type of work?
Go. My favorite people that attend our classes are beginners because they come in clean slate and they haven't been polluted yet. And people that those are the best ones, man. And it's a great way to immerse because it's divided up over 7 days. We take it super slow because normally massage education seminars are 2 days of
Yeah,
act too, and this is any seminar, too much information, guilty as charged. And you don't necessarily have a lot of time to absorb that. But doing this over 7 days with these half days and days off and full day here and there, I think it's the best way to just absorb this work.
yeah, fantastic. Cool. And tell me the dates again.
Day after Thanksgiving, I should know these dates by heart, Ben. You just put me on the spot, but it's
I
always the
did.
day after Thanksgiving, which this year is going to be, looks like November. Well, it's November 29th. So people come in on that Saturday, the 29th,
Okay.
and you're going to go home Saturday, December 6th is the go home day.
Nice.
Yeah. And it's an easy, by the way, like wherever you live, man, it is an easy flight. Like Costa Rica is probably one of the easiest travel experiences I ever have all the time. I always get down
Nice.
super two short flights. So coming from Connecticut to Miami, Miami to Costa Rica, easy.
Love it.
Yeah. And by the way, true story, actually registration is cooking for that. So make your plans and get on this one.
Yeah. You can register at ericdalton.com, correct?
Eric.com, that'll take you through the link, and we have for that particular workshop, we have a secondary. They book right through Pure Arena for that. They have booked through a booking agency for that, but they handle everything for you.
Okay. Nice. I love it. So we got
Yeah,
our
buddy.
events out of the way. How
Sure
about
did.
what's cooking in your neck of the woods? What have you been up to? We always like to talk a little bit about that. A little bit about. I mean, we did talk about current events being in Oklahoma City, but anything happened exciting in your world since you've been back? Anything
Weather's,
exciting that you want to talk about?
weather's been good.
Yeah.
Been getting to the beach here and there up in Maine, and that's been nice. We're going to go do our annual vacation here coming up in about 2 short weeks. But the big news, Ben, is I'm going to move my wellness center. And I'm going to move my wellness center about 2 miles down the road. And so I'm in the process of doing that right now.
That sounds fantastic. Hazardville Wellness is moving up in the world, or moving down the street 2 miles.
Moving down the street.
Yeah.
Good move. A little bit of a bigger space. I'll have a bigger treatment room. It's the office lays right against just a beautiful nature trails, as well as right by one of our rivers. So it's you kind of walk out and you're surrounded it's pretty cool environment. So
That sounds fantastic. I love it.
look forward to that.
Yeah.
What about you, buddy?
Oh man, we're in this thing in the Midwest. They're calling a heat dome. Have you ever heard of one of these?
I think I felt it in Oklahoma.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, for the next 2 weeks, temperatures in the 90s or above with humidity levels in the 90s also, which makes it for not very fun to be outside. So I'm sticking inside. I'm doing treatments all day, and then I go home and I stay inside. That's what I'm doing.
Man, we actually had a couple cool days here, so we got down into the 70s with almost like a fall like breeze.
Oh,
Yeah.
don't it's like you're showing off there.
I think
That's
we're
all
going to go
right.
back up to 92 this Friday, though. So,
Yeah.
so Ben, what do we got this week?
Well, I like to start things off with a question, and we've been on this theme of knock knock jokes. So I'm going to go with another knock knock. So, knock knock.
Who's there?
Like,
Like who?
comment, and share if you think this joke was funny. Wah, wah, not funny, but I had to find something that goes along with the theme of today.
I actually had a knock knock joke prepared for my presentation in Oklahoma, but I think because I had so much to talk about, I forgot to do it. So originally I was going to walk out on stage and say knock knock,
Who's there?
Axon,
Axon who?
Axon me to tell you about neurodynamic techniques.
I
That
love
was
it.
going to be my thing, but I of course got caught up in the hype of some other stuff.
Oh yeah, I mean you had a lot going on, but I'm glad we got to premiere that joke here on Ben and Nate's Questions We Ask.
I'll
people.
save that one for Omaha.
Yeah. So
All
that
right.
leads us
Well, what else
into
are
the
we talking-
we asked this question on the internet on our Facebook page, and I'm going to read it to you. The
Ready.
question reads, have you ever adjusted your social media presence because of professional considerations or concerns about how others might perceive you?
Whoa.
And I know you and I had talked about this specifically a month or so ago, and we wanted to ask this question specifically because of events that were happening at that time. And I think we've had some events happen recently too that kind of lend to this, and I think we'll get into that. But give me your initial thoughts about what this question means to you.
I think dropping my microphone. I'm a hot mess over here. So I think I got Facebook. Oh man, what year? Probably 2000. I want to say maybe 2009-ish, 2008-ish, maybe a little bit before that.
Yeah, it was Facebook, and then that guy from MySpace, Tom. Those two were
we
fighting for
had
popularity.
we had MySpace, and of course I always loved MySpace because you could put a song.
The
So
music, yeah.
MySpace page, you had your favorite song, and you could put who your best friends were, and you could be pretty goofy. And yeah, Facebook came around, and Facebook Memories is a heck of a thing. Because Facebook Memories will show you posts from 15 years ago or however long you had Facebook. And sometimes I look at my Facebook posts from perhaps my a little bit younger, a little bit more immature days, and I'm like, oh man, that's probably something I couldn't necessarily post now. And it's not that it was really bad, but social media has lent itself to our clients check us out everywhere, right? Our clients kind of become our friends in a way, even though I know a lot of massage therapists are like, oh, you shouldn't be friends with your clients, but you're spending a long time with them. They most of our clients come to see us for life. And it's pretty natural for people to friend us on Facebook and
Yeah.
friend you on social media. So ultimately, Ben, right, you have Ben Stone, superhero massage therapist persona. But you probably have this whole other life that people don't really know about. I have this whole other life that maybe people don't necessarily know about. And it's like, how much of that do you keep private, right? Whether it's politics, whether, it's your side gig modeling and taking pictures of your feet, or whether it's, just being like a goofy guy and maybe saying like weird stuff that like some people do. And that could potentially change that persona of your professionalism for your client. So where does the line get drawn and all that stuff?
There's so many different ways we can go with this, and I feel like I always say that.
But there is.
Yeah, I was going through some of my old stuff, and in I think it was 2016, I taught a class for our local AMTA. It was a 3-hour ethics class, and it was called Online Professionalism. Actually, maybe it was only 1 hour class, but anyway, it was about how do you present yourself on social media. Um, so I was going back through some of those notes and some of the stuff that I researched, and it was kind of interesting. And I think things have evolved since then, because that was 2016. What's that? Roughly 9 years ago. So it doesn't seem that long ago, but things have evolved a lot since then.
Yeah, I think well they definitely have, right? And I think the way that we interact and communicate now is all through these different platforms that we have. And maybe the conversation 9 years ago was, oh, you shouldn't let your clients be your friends and you should keep your social media locked down. But I don't know. I think for the average person, and I'm sure that there's plenty of people that are great at that, by the way. But at the same time, I'm okay with letting my clients in that door a little bit.
Yeah. And those were the questions that I had when I taught that class. And if you're willing, I think I can share a little bit of my notes from there. Let me just see if I can pull this up real quick.
Love to.
I am going to share my screen for everyone to see. So for all of you who are watching, you can see what's going on. All of you who are listening, you're not missing much. I'll just say that, because these are these are slides I came up with 10 years ago. But here we've got a picture of none other than the Warren Buffett. And I don't know if he really said this or not, because anyone can post anything on the internet and put someone's name to it. But this kind of sounds like something he said. And what it says is it takes 20 years to build a reputation and 5 minutes to ruin it. So if you think about that, you may do things differently. And so he may have said this before social media became popular, but I think it's more true now with social media being so prevalent than it ever has been. What are your thoughts about that, Nate?
Well, I mean, in light of recent incidences, right, in the public eye, that the possibility of a Coldplay concert recently.
Definitely want to get into the Coldplay concert
You said
talk.
20 years to build a written reputation, and that was about 35 seconds to, possibly ruin some lives there. Quite frankly, I'd be more embarrassed about going to a Coldplay concert than anything else, but
There's
that's
then there's that aspect too. So
That's a
Um,
whole different story. But then again, but I want you to go on. I want to back into all this stuff.
yeah, I'm going to start at the beginning of kind of what I talked about, and I'm going to slip through here. There's a couple of different ways to think about what you share on social media. And basically it's, you share everything. Everything is available for anyone that wants to find you, or you create different personas. So for me, I might have a photography persona, and then I'll have a massage therapy persona, and then I'll have, my own personal persona, which, keeps the circles of your life separated. But it also, one of the downsides is you've got to manage all those things. And I can tell you, we're doing this podcast. We both have our businesses. I have a couple other things going on at the photography stuff. It gets hard to manage all those things. It's to juggle all those. Oh, I got to post here. I got to post here. I got to post here versus just giving everybody full reign into your life. Hey, I do this and I do this and I do that. And the third one, I forget the third one. I was trying to find it through here, but those were the two main things is um, you either separate things out or you keep it all together or you just don't be on social media altogether.
Right. Right.
I'm gonna
Interesting
that.
that the email addresses you showed because, of course, you and I were around when the internet was invented. Your
Yes.
very first email address, you wanted to take on this like persona that meant something to you, right?
Yeah.
And I'm stuck with Nate Fay 33 at Gmail. Of course, 33 being how old I was when I created that email address. But that's actually not bad though, so I've kept that one.
No. And that was one thing I talked about is, it's not only what you share on social media, but how do you present yourself through your online communications? Is your website professional? Is your email that you use professional? I've got some samples here, that I actually have seen. Not all of them, some of them are made up, but like happygirl@hotmail.com. Do you want to be emailing your clients with, that type of an email address? Or do you want it to be, ben.stone@hotmail.com, keeping things professional?
Sure. So what happens on social media then? So, you've talked about politics before. You have a no politics zone in your office. And and recent presidential elections have stirred things up and has gotten people talking for the last several months. So there's Ben Stone, and let's start there. Does Ben Stone give his 2 cents on politics on his social media page? Is that where one of the lines gets drawn?
Yeah. Uh, I would say that Ben Stone is a hot mess online, meaning I have a lot of different presences all over. And so I'm going to put this out as a challenge to anyone who's listening. If you can find all of my presences by leaving a message or a post or something on each one of those presences, um, we will give you I will give you some sort of prize to be named later. I don't know what the prize will be. But anyway, so I've got all these presences, and it's hard to keep them all active. But in general, I try to stay pretty vanilla. I don't post anything that's controversial politically, or, I'm not going around saying the world is flat. I'm not going around saying, that there was a conspiracy, 9/11 conspiracies or whatever the flavor of conspiracy is. Like, I keep my stuff pretty vanilla. How about you, Nate? What kind of stuff are you how do you see yourself on social media and the internet in general?
I think since I opened up my sole practice about 10 years ago, because I was working for another practice prior to that, but I think my persona of Nate Fay has sort of evolved over the last 10 years. And of course, I played in a rock and roll band for a long time. And of course, my rock and roll days and the presence of that sort of stuff and posting some pretty probably immature things, nothing politically or nothing, nothing necessarily provocative, but I look at some of my old posts and it's like, oh, gonna go to Nantucket and get drunk this weekend. And oh my God, drank too much and puked my guts out. So I see those old posts from 15 years ago. And, I certainly don't want that persona. And that's not me anymore anyway, but I certainly wouldn't want to post that stuff, right? My business has grown, my name in the seminar business has grown. I've gone from maybe a couple hundred quote unquote friends on Facebook to, a couple thousand of a bunch of people I don't even know, but just, that's the way the massage community is. So, I keep my life, like you said, very vanilla. My Facebook posts are very rarely, even these days. Of course, I'm proud of my son, but even rarely do I put him out there anymore just because the persona of Mayfay has changed significantly. So I've worked on just becoming more private in my personal life compared to the way that I used to be 15 years ago or so, and before all that kind of stuff. So I personally, for me, I can only speak for me, and which is, I believe in keeping my social media pretty, I like what you said, pretty vanilla.
Yeah.
And once in a while I might stray a little bit. I mean, we lost, an icon, Ozzy Osbourne today. So like things like that, I might make a post about, but who isn't making a post about Ozzy Osbourne today?
Yeah.
Um, like little things like that. But I think that I keep myself pretty vanilla. But interestingly enough, and with all these massage therapists that I'm friends with, I see a lot of people's posts, and I see people jumping into politics. And again, I don't care what side of the fence you're on, but seeing some pretty wild stuff. I'm seeing some people post getting a little too personal, like, oh, I hate my husband. He cheated on me and I'm leaving him, and putting that stuff out there. But what kind of prompted this question for me, Ben, and having brought it to you is, one of our colleagues, and I'm gonna leave this pretty ambiguous, so I'm not gonna say whether it's a male or female or anything like that. But one of our colleagues does a lot of modeling and posts some pretty provocative modeling pictures, and is also a very successful massage therapist. And what prompted this was that this person had posted about getting fired from their spa. And the comment was, in light of recent Facebook posts. And those Facebook posts of the pictures were probably more provocative than what I normally see this person post. And I thought, huh, I'm like, should this, person have gotten fired for what they do in their other life? You have a life of photographing nature, so to speak.
Hmm.
Right? I still have my musician life a little bit, but I don't know. That raised a lot of questions.
Yeah, there was something else I think we discussed too, and it was in the headlines a while back, and I don't remember the specifics, but it was something along the lines of an elementary school teacher had an OnlyFans account and ended up losing her position as an elementary school teacher because there was an OnlyFans account,
Yeah,
which is
that's
kind of
actually
similar to this massage therapist who lost their job because of the
right.
pictures.
And your example that you just brought up is actually happening more and more. In my understanding, a lot of these cases are now going through the court. And it will be pretty interesting, some of the rulings on these cases of teachers losing their jobs, of what they're doing in their personal life, if ultimately the courts are going to rule that they were wrongly terminated, particularly because these sites are 18 an hour, 18 an hour. 18 and over.
So you
But,
know about these sites, huh?
18 dollars an hour, man. So yeah, 18 and over, you have to pay. There's paywalls to get into these. The content on a lot of those sites is highly protected, so you can't, if you try to take those images and repost them, a lot of that stuff gets shut down pretty quickly. So, it's an interesting thing is should these people, lose their job if it's completely private.
Yeah,
And
and that activity of whatever it takes to create the footage or whatever it is, that whole thing, that's completely separate and done at a separate, it's not being done at the school, I'm assuming, and it's not being, it's being done, say over the weekend, not during school hours, completely separate from the school work. And so why should what I do in my off time affect my status at my other job?
right, and then the question always becomes too, well, the dad or mom that discovered this stuff,
Yeah.
they were obviously interested in paying for content anyway. So it's pretty double-edged sword. And I mean, I personally believe that these people should be left alone. I mean, I don't think that you should lose your job over that. And quite frankly, probably a very unpopular opinion. And that whole Coldplay thing, I mean, totally stupid, right? I mean, you're pretty stupid to go to a concert and bring that out to the open. You lose your job over that stuff, you know,
Yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about that too. I'm glad you brought that up. That's I mean, it's everywhere right now. You see the CEO from what is astronomy, something like that. Anyway,
listen,
he's
and again, not
he's
to,
there with someone
right,
and they get plastered all over the internet. And it's a funny joke. Either those people are having an affair or they're just really shy. You know,
right,
that's pretty funny. But I mean, I'm gonna take all emotion on and all sense of morals and ethics out of it. Why
right,
should that interaction affect his job? That is his own personal. I mean, granted, I did see something about people should respect his privacy, that kind of thing, and that could be debated because you're out in public anyway, and you should you got to figure out what you want to do in public and what you want to share in public. But really, with what he did at that concert, or what happened at that concert, why should that affect his position at his job? I, if you take morals and ethics away from that, you could say, hey, he did nothing wrong. I mean, but
right.
you could also make the argument if you bring in ethics and morals and say, well, if he's being unethical in his personal life, maybe he's going to be unethical in the business world.
Yeah. And certainly you could say that, but if there's no proof of the burden of how he ran his business or what he did, what people do in their personal life should be just that. Unfortunately, in 2020, 2025, whatever year this is, you can't escape from the cameras. The cameras are everywhere. You're a photographer, Ben.
Yeah.
Cameras are everywhere. And, you never know. Of course, I always say to Shauna when we're walking the dog, I'm gonna like trip and fall and or sneeze and crap my pants, and someone's Ring doorbell is gonna catch that, and I'm gonna
Yeah.
be all over the internet, just because of somebody's ring cam. So that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, and I agree with you. If you put all your stuff aside, at the end of the day, it doesn't make sense to me.
It
But go ahead.
it brings up this idea of we still have this belief of the Beaver Cleaver family. You remember Ward and June and the Beav? There's this idea that we should have a mom and a dad and 1.5 kids, and it should be a family and they should be all together. But the reality of it, all of us know someone who has been divorced, been separated. I mean, I don't even know what the numbers are for divorce, but it's ridiculous high. So now it's almost like even social media. So social media, everyone wants to present their best side. Oh, look at me, I'm in my new Bugatti. Oh, look at me, I got my new Rolex. Everybody's only sharing good stuff. And so, we have this leftover image from the 50s of the Beaver Cleaver family. And so this CEO from astronomy or whoever it is gets caught on camera. And so everyone's like, oh no, you're ruining the whole Beaver Cleaver image, which doesn't even exist anymore, but we want to believe the facade. And that's what social media is about. I'm getting on a soapbox here, but
Oh, it's okay.
it's a
So far.
facade. Nobody really shows the crappy stuff on social media. I mean, we have some people that like to share drama, like, well, woe is me, my tire got flat, or I'm having whatever. But I don't know. I've ranted too long. Give me your thoughts.
I mean, first of all, that guy's probably the only guy that's happy that Ozzy died today. And completely, you know, t- he's like, okay, good, I'm gonna, and of course, luckily people have, what's the attention span of the public these days is usually about 48 hours for this kind of stuff. And if you notice that it's already kind of disappearing anyway.
Yeah.
So I don't know. My thoughts on all that stuff, everything from the OnlyFans to, this guy. I mean, hey, if he was running a type business and, what he did is certainly none of my business. And, I mean, I could sit back and be like, well, you're a dummy for doing that and whatever. But at the same time, guy was at public, guy wasn't at his job. And of course, we're only blaming the guy, but it's truly everybody involved.
True. Yeah. Why?
Yeah,
Yeah. Why?
because,
Why are we blaming the guy? They're both at fault.
I went through a divorce basically 5 years ago.
Yeah.
That was kind of a public thing within my community because I mean, I'm going to my office every day and my clients knew, everybody knew what was going on. So in a lot of ways, my clients were like, oh man, like, how are you doing? How's things going? And that kind of stuff. And no, but it was always interesting because once in a while, the thing that upset me most, and this was like 2% of people that would say this to me, people would always be like, "Oh, your poor son, your poor son." And I was like, "Man," but I would always fire back, and I'm like, "No, actually, my son is thriving. He's a straight A student. He's an amazing musician. And, would he rather see two parents fight and sleep in separate rooms, or would he rather see his dad and his mom happy in separate homes, And sort of the assumptions of how people maybe perceive the idea of divorce and kind of let that fall on me a little bit. So, I kind of experienced some of that stuff, but not to get too off topic though. So, back to the social media thing and posting modeling pictures, not, by the way, not nudity, not what might be considered pornography, but artful pictures. That's a
Yeah.
word.
Yeah.
So do you lose your job over that? Which I'm assuming they did because the post was interestingly timed.
I have a hard time connecting the dots how that, something you do on your own time affects your job. I mean, and there's plenty of people who have a couple jobs, somebody works at Walmart and then they work at Target and then they work somewhere else. Should that, can you get fired for working at a different, competitor? I
Wasn't that like moonlighting or something like that? I mean, why would you have two jobs kind of a thing?
yeah.
So,
Yeah, there's a lot of questions that come up, and I think it comes back down to, and I hadn't thought about this before, but this idea of we want to project that we have these superior morals and superior ethics, and so if we see someone else that is not adhering to our morals and ethics, then they are they're less than or something like that. So they're not fit to be in our company or something like that. I don't know. A little bit of that is word vomit, but just, I'm sounding it out.
I've always said, I always say if my massage walls could write a book on what my clients said to me, I'd probably have about 7 bestsellers now. And so many of my clients have friended me on Facebook, so I get a little bit of an insight to their other life too. Maybe it's their families or their husbands or their wives and their vacations and things like that. And I've had clients that come in and for an hour, I can't stand my spouse. I hate my spouse. I wish I could leave them. And then 2 days later, the family pictures, the family vacations. I got the best wife, the best guy ever. And I see that stuff and I'm like, man, 2 days ago, they're asking me about the ins and outs of my divorce. You know what I mean? And anyway, it's
Yeah. The
you,
the
as Shauna says, you do it for the Facebook.
Yeah, you just want to show people the good stuff. And I do this in photography. I only show the pictures that I'm happy about. I don't show the pictures that didn't turn out. I don't show the pictures that are crap or that I
Right.
think are crap.
Yeah, you're not going to post, man, I got in an awful fight with my wife today. I'm sleeping on the couch for 2 nights.
No.
But we've talked about getting fired, right? So we've given some examples of people losing their jobs over really morals. But what about losing clients? I mean, could you lose clients because you post how much you love Donald Trump or or if you post, I hate Donald Trump, could you lose clients?
I think you were reading my mind because I wanted to ask you this question. Let's say you are researching a professional to go to, whether it's to get your hair cut, whether it's to get a massage, whether it's dermatologist, whether it's podiatrist, whether it's family doctor. And I don't know how common this is, but when I was looking for a dermatologist, I looked up the dermatologist and then I did some internet stalking and I tried to find this person on social media. I tried to find this person on, what else, where else can I find them and find out more about them without actually picking up the phone and saying, hey, tell me more about you. Because some of that stuff, like you said, if you're posting controversial posts about politics, somebody may pick up on that and say, hey, I don't know that this person is my kind of person. So do you ever do this? Do you stalk people on the internet to decide if that's going to be someplace you want to go? Have you ever done this?
Admittedly, if I'm going to seek out a professional, I've never stalked out their personal lives. I mean, I look up reviews, certainly like do that kind of stuff. But admittedly, when I've had people that have wanted to come work for my office, I've stalked their personal pages and just to see what kind of posts they're posting and what kind of pictures they're posting. And admittedly, I've done that, but that wasn't now. I will say I haven't had to do that since 2016 or 17. And as you and I talked about earlier, very different times back then. And I think at this point, my attitude on that might have changed a little bit. But I don't know, I feel a little contradictory because on one hand, I'm saying, listen, these people shouldn't get fired for this stuff. But then I'm also feeling, man, if this person is posting about politics or, I got drunk last night with my friends and I hate my wife or my husband, and there's posts like that, make me question how they're going to act in their treatment.
Yeah, so I found this saying on the inside of the lid of a Snapple bottle. Do you remember Snapple?
Sure do.
Yeah.
Raspberry tea is my favorite.
So it said, your vibe attracts your tribe.
Yeah.
And so if you are doing a little bit of research on some of your customers to see if they are someone that you may or may not vibe with, is that so terrible? Because you ultimately get the choice of who you want to work with and who you don't want to work with. And that
Well,
ultimately makes your day better or worser.
sure, sure. Clients are interesting because clients for me, I feel like I can usually, I have this weird, one of my stupid human tricks is I can kind of sense that stuff at the phone call, just based off of how they're speaking to me and what they say and how they act. And I can usually and if there's any question of it, I go through with the first visit. And, between you and I and whoever's listening, if it's not a match, I just say that I can't help them. I'm sorry, I think you should go see, the doctor up the street or something like that. I don't think I can help you. So clients I don't stock out. Incoming massage therapist I have stocked out in the past, and I still think I would, and I'd have to kind of maybe change how I think a little bit, what might potentially turn me off. But no, if I'm seeking out a new professional to see for myself, like your example, the dermatologist, don't think I would. Don't think I would.
Yeah. So then let's go back to your original question where you were talking about losing clients. Was that it? Rephrase your question for me.
Yeah, so the question is obviously, in this heated political world, and obviously having opinions either for or against the current Trump administration, and you could lose clients either way, right? You can say that you hate the guy, and you could lose your clients that love the guy, and you could say you love the guy, and vice versa. And that's kind of the world that we live in right now, is people can really stop talking to you based off of your politics. Politics is probably seemingly a lot more heated and volatile than posting a provocative picture in your thong on the internet.
Yeah, definitely recently seems that way.
Yeah. Nobody wants to see me in a thong on the internet, Ben.
Ditto.
Ditto. Gotcha. So are posts like that worth losing clients over? Not to me.
Yeah, and again, I bring up the Snapple cap. Your vibe attracts your tribe, and so if you are posting stuff like that, you're going to the people that think like you are going to gravitate toward you, but you're also
Yeah.
going to turn away people. And so how abrasive do you want to be? How much drama do you want to throw out there to the world? And I I have people on both sides of the fence, red and blue. And, um, in a massage session, that's not the place for a political discussion. And if people try to talk about that, I'm like, hey, this isn't going to be helpful for either of us. So let's move on to something a little better.
Pretty rare in my office that people bring up politics. I have like two or three people, and I know them. They've been with me. I let them rip. I don't respond. But I had an actually cool experience about a month ago. And one of my longtime clients, she's been coming to see me probably for 16 years now. And she was getting ready to go to New York City. They were having a huge it was a protest slash gay pride parade and event. And it was going to be coupled with the gay pride parade and event plus a protest against current administration. And it's the first time in 16 years that this client ever brought up political stuff to me. And she was going on and on and on about it. And I don't say a word. Once those conversations don't happen, I clam up.
Yeah.
And other people have conversations, right? Well, I have my same two or three that have their 5 minutes of whatever they need to say, and then they go on to something else. But this is the first time this person, she was going on and on and on. And it was so cool because she finally stopped and she said, she said, I don't know what side of the fence you were on politically. And she goes, I could be really upsetting you right now. And I didn't say anything. And I said, I actually appreciate you saying that. And I said, but by the way, I said, you'll never know what side of the fence I am on politically. And I said, but I actually appreciate you saying that. And I said, with that being said, I said, I will forever remain completely, I said, this is the one thing that I say at the I call, the Thanksgiving table, my massage table, that I want people to have a mystery about Nate Faye, right? And she was like, she's like, I'm really sorry because she goes, I don't know. She goes, I don't want to upset you. And I said, by the way, I'm totally not upset because you don't know. And it was the end of story. But it was so cool that I thought that she could say that, you know, and kind of take ownership of her bringing that stuff up, right?
Yeah. I like that you're able to do that. And in a small way, I think, that makes people feel safe with you.
Yeah,
The trust and the safety, we all know that that's a big part in a therapeutic alliance. And so
right.
giving them that opportunity to say, hey, this is a safe space. I want you to know that it's safe. Um, yeah, I think that's phenomenal.
Yeah, and I just thought it was cool that from a client's perspective, she basically apologized and ended the conversation. And I was like, I've known you for 16 years. It's all good. And I said to her, I said, I'm glad that you don't know. And I'm glad that you'll never know. And it is what it is. I had no reason to agree with her or disagree with her. And my other clients that spew their 5 minutes, I love Trump, I love Trump, I love Trump. And it's 5 minutes and I just don't say a word. And then I hate Trump, I hate Trump, I hate Trump. And I smile and I don't say a word. But they never apologize. They never ask me. They never, you know, whatever. And again,
Yeah.
I thought it was cool that that client, took the time to, apologize and take my potential feelings into consideration.
Yeah, and that's just another layer of allowing people to be themselves and allowing people to get their story out, which I think it is also therapeutic. We're not therapists. We're not mental health therapists by any means, but we can listen, and sometimes that can be helpful. It's not going to take the place of a mental therapist, but you've been there. We've all been there. Everybody knows what I'm talking about.
Totally. Yeah, man. But I know I personally would never post my politics or anything. And like I said earlier in our conversation, I've pretty much whitewashed my social media pages.
But I can't stay away from a good funny meme, even if it's political. And I don't care which way it goes. If it's funny, it's funny.
I talked about in our Oklahoma event, Eric and I had a special relationship behind the scenes and messaging each other. So, everything from business stuff to musicians to stuff to like some pretty ridiculous stuff. And my very last text message to him, and I told this on stage in Omaha or Oklahoma, was he had taken a video of some sort of vulture showing up to his balcony in Costa Rica, and I overdubbed the bird spreading its wings and took the place of the bird asking if Eric wanted to see my insert word there in a high pitched voice, kind of like the guy from Tampa Bay. And that was actually my very last message to Eric. And of course, Eric wrote back, hilarious, laugh out loud, that kind of stuff. And but even that, man, like I wouldn't post online. I wouldn't have posted that in public. And that was a very private relationship between Eric and I. And of course, the type of relationship we all have with our friends
Yeah.
and goofy stuff like that. So
Yeah. Yeah, there's a place for things like that, and I guess it comes down to what you're comfortable with. What are you comfortable with sharing? And it's one of those things where some people they don't have a filter and they just want to share everything, which is fine, but you have to make that decision. Where do you draw the line? Where do you say this is what I'm going to share and this is what I'm going to keep private?
right, right. My guess is the massage world is very divided on friending your clients still and what you should post and what you shouldn't post. And given the average post I see on Facebook, from off the rocker type posts to pretty clean and vanilla. It still seems pretty divided to me, the way people use their social media versus their professional lives.
Yeah. Well, maybe we should review and talk about what we learned today or some big takeaways. What you got any thoughts about that?
I mean, divided. I think in some ways I love this question tonight, but it just feels like very personal and still what you want to do. I mean, there's no rules. There's no rules in the online game of what you should do versus what you should do in your business. And I think unfortunately, these rules are being written as we go, right? And people are potentially maybe losing their jobs for no reason or losing clients for what they're doing. So hard to I'm just so torn on this, Ben. Torn on this one.
Yeah, how long's the internet been around? I mean, the internet as far as uh
Accessible to the public.
yeah.
Because I can remember in junior high, this is in like 1987, going over to my buddy's house, like war games and putting the phone on the contraption, right? And then going online and playing, those goofy little, dot matrix type games. And it was just so fascinating to me, but that wasn't accessible. And of course, the internet became accessible in what, 90, 97, 98? I don't know.
Yeah, I think I remember being in college around those years and being able to go to the college internet room and getting on some sort of chat program and being able to talk to other people in real time by typing messages. I mean, that was crazy to me.
Crazy.
Yeah.
AOL Instant Messenger. Do you remember what your screen name was?
I don't remember.
Oh, I remember mine. My buddies and I used to go bowling, and back then, and when we would go bowling, my bowling name was Johnny Approach because of the way I would wind myself up in my little gait towards the. So they used to call me Johnny Approach. So my AOL screen name was Johnny Approach.
Nice. I love it. I can still hear that sound, that beep. You've got mail.
So, so cool.
Yeah.
Felt like easier times, man. Felt like better times.
Yeah. Everything just gets more complicated the older we get, doesn't it?
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
What about you? What was your takeaway tonight?
Oh man, I don't. There's so many ways I can go with it. I mean, you just said stuff about how there's no rules, and I'm thinking like we literally are in the wild wild west still with the internet and social media and now we have AI. Like we're discovering all these things, and there's no oversight. There's no police, so to say, for any of this stuff. So I mean, it really is no holds barred. You do what you want, but you have to be responsible for the consequences. You have to be ready to deal with the stuff that you dish out. And so that's one of the reasons why I stay vanilla. I don't need people to know all about all my business. Only a little bit about my business.
And I guess I like actually what you just said. And I guess at the end of the day, whatever profession you're in, and even though we're focusing on massage therapists, I guess if you're going to be sort of bold and brave and colorful, and maybe you're going to post that provocative shot of yourself, or you're going to make that political post, I guess deep down, if you're prepared, hey, I might lose a client or two, and that's okay by me, then I guess it's okay by you.
Yeah, how does it go? Feeling kind of cute. Might delete later.
Might delete later. Of course, it's too late to delete because some jerks already screenshotted
Oh yeah,
it.
and I think there's a project that Google has that archives every single page on the internet somehow. So yeah, nothing is going away ever. So even this podcast never going away. So, mentioning this podcast, episode 50 of Ben and Nate's Questions We Ask Massage Therapists on the Internet. Thank you for listening. Nate, tell them if they like this show, what's the best way to support what we do?
Answer our questions, which actually I've noticed the last bunch of questions we've been putting out there, people have been taking part in that. So these shows only happen if you answer our questions.
Yeah, we love to hear what you have to say. Even, episodes like this, like I want to know, how do you decide what you're going to share on the internet? And what are your thoughts on what other people share on the internet? Let us know either in the comments or come to our Facebook page, start a thread, let us know, because we will talk back to you.
We definitely will. And sometimes if you respond, these could strike up part twos of these episodes as well.
Part twos, parts threes, we will revisit as often as necessary. And the internet 2.0 could be as early as next week, and things change, with AI, with robot technology. Who knows where we're going?
Who knows, buddy?
Yeah. Well, thanks for listening, everybody. It's been a pleasure.
See you next time.
See you next time on Ben and Nate's Questions We Ask Massage Therapists on the Internet.